Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'll call the Missoula City Council meeting of March 6th, 2017. The glasses are too far away. March 6th, 2017 to order. If you'd please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. And please let the record note that, with the exception of Mr. Von Lossberg and Mr. DeBari, all council members are present. We have minutes of the meeting of February 28th without objection. They'll stand approved. Seeing, it should be. Yeah, thank you. Seeing none, they'll stand approved. We'll move on to our schedule of committee meetings. Ms. Rabine.
Okay, we have kind of a short committee schedule this week. The Parks and Conservation Committee will meet this coming Wednesday, the 8th of March, which also happens to be Missoula's birthday. Happy birthday, Missoula. Missoula was founded on March 8th, 1883. Parks and Conservation will meet from 9 till 9:20. Land Use and Planning will meet from 9:25 to 10:05. The Administration and Finance Committee will meet from 10:10 in the morning until 10:35. And the Public Works Committee will meet from 10:40 to 11:10. And all of those meetings are being held right here in the council chambers.
Thank you, Ms. Rabine. Any changes to that committee schedule this evening? Seeing none, we'll move on to the public portion, or the public comment portion of our agenda. This is your opportunity to comment on items not elsewhere on the agenda this evening. Any general public comment? Ms. Matthew Jenkins. Mr. DeCoux.
My name's Bill DeCoux. I moved to Missoula in 1973. I come to you tonight as a retired businessman. I was a landlord for 39 years, and as such, I've had some experience and some observations about the experience of doing business in the city of Missoula, in dealing with the city of Missoula. Well, let's see. I don't meet the typical image, or what's seen as the typical image for a landlord. I drove my '03 Subaru with 225,000 miles here, not my Mercedes. I am overweight, but I don't have either my cigar or my glass of champagne. Being a businessman, being a landlord is being a businessman. Some people regard it as something other than that, but at least for those of us that had more than one or two rentals, it is a business. I have an MBA. One of the things they taught us in MBA school was assessing risk. There's always risk in business. And you think about what those risks are. What are the risks? Well, the house could burn down. Tenants could trash it. It could be vacant. I couldn't pay the mortgage and it'd be foreclosed on. I don't know. I mean, the economic conditions could change, so things were really nasty. And they're the major things I thought of. The single biggest thing I failed to anticipate was the difficulty of dealing with the city. A little bit of history. I know I won't do this in one night at 2 minutes. Cut me off when you need to. When we got here, we bought a used mobile home. And we lived in it for 4 years and then bought a house. And I tried to sell the used mobile home and couldn't get what I thought was reasonable for it, so I decided to rent it. People ask me, how'd you get to be a landlord? And I say, well, by mistake. It went downhill from there, I guess. And I bought two houses in 1981 out of some savings. Some of you may remember that was a very bad economic period. Interest rates were 18%. houses were being foreclosed on, things were tough. And I managed to get one house for $5,000 down and assuming a 7.5% mortgage when the going rate was 14%. And the other I got for 3 mortgage payments in arrears and assumed the mortgage. A realtor I knew through work at the county health department came and said, "Do you want to buy a rental?" And I said, "I don't know, talk to me about it." And then later, we got 2 more units. We sold the land. We had originally going to be build a house on and use that for down payment for a duplex. And 8 years later, we bought another 8 units by refinancing the first ones. And things went on from there, and I ended up with 25 units for a good number of years. I sold out my last one in October of 16. To paraphrase someone, free at last, free at last. Oh, thank God, I'm free at last. And I sold my truck with a snowplow, and I'm an ordinary citizen again, and it feels a little peculiar. The early time, dealing with the city. I only see one phase I recognize here from 1977. A lot of things have come and gone since then. We still have the same city attorney. Mayors have come and gone, city councilmen have come and gone, directors of public works have come and gone, planning people have come and gone, developers have come and gone, banks have come and gone. And yet, time goes on and we live through it.
So we're getting up to about 4 minutes, Mr. DeCoos.
I'm sorry?
We're getting to about 4 minutes.
We're there now?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I will return.
Good, thank you. Appreciate it. I want to hear what you have to say. Other general
Candy Matthew Jenkins, 1211 Cooper Street. I just want to give a kind of a background at this testimony I've been reading. In 1776, the Constitution was born. In 1840, the Communist Manifesto was born. And we jump ahead until 1936 with the Soviet handbook on brainwashing in 1936. So we've gone 70 years. And ever since 1936, the going concerns have been with communist input until this day. And the communist brainwashing handbook is on psychopolitics, the art of mental healing, as read into the congressional record of un-American activities between 36 and 39. And it is the playbook and the handbook of what we see going on in our society today. So to continue to read, an anatomy of stimulus response mechanisms of man. For some reason, I'm really nervous tonight. The response mechanism need only to be reminded of some small part of the stimulus to call into view the mental image picture and cause the body is to remember in the pain connected with the incident of punishment. But so long as the individual obeys the picture or follows the commands of the stimulus implantation, he will be free from pain. The behavior of children is regulated in this fashion in every civilized country. The father, finding himself unable to bring about the immediate obedience and training on the part of his child resorts to physical violence.
And that's 3 minutes,
Okay.
Ms. Matthew Jenkins.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other general public comment on non-agenda items this evening? Mr. Moore?
Bob Moore. I hope you can hear me a little better. I was happy to see something in these minutes that I agreed with. One of the points was reconsider the school zone speed limit on Wilson Street. I assume that means reducing the speed limit. So given if you're reducing it, I'll let you know I agree with it. As you know, we spend tens and tens of millions of dollars to give it to businessmen and developers. I got a couple of good ideas to spend it on. Here's an article on meth abuse overwhelms authorities in the courts. Putting more money and resources into prevention treatment and keeping the drug from reaching communities can alleviate some of the problem. I think that'd be a lot better than helping the shopping center build its grocery store that they've announced. They've also announced, I think, that you're going to help pay for it. Public records, municipal court, DUIs, 10 last week. Justice Court had 17 DUI convictions last week. I'd like to go out and drive and not be looking around to see how many drunk people are driving through the city of Missoula. A few more policemen spent on that instead of welfare payments, I think would be a lot better for the city. Short-term financing, how in God's name you're choosing to do short-term financing on a 30 or 40-year loan is incredible. One person, David Edgell, wrote a letter to the editor, and I couldn't agree more. What is wrong with our city? Andrea is one of 18,515 different people in our community who faced the threat of hunger and needed our food banks to help last year. I think I heard you say there's 73,000 people in the city of Missoula. 18,000 got help from the food bank. 18,000. Last week I asked about this thing that was put on my door. I asked my two representatives to check this out, and I haven't heard a word, which doesn't surprise me. This was written by the pruning crew, whoever that is. As anyone who has walked the subdivision can attest, that's the subdivision I live in, sidewalk clearance is not safe. In most cases, street clearance, particularly for emergency vehicles, mail, city maintenance, trash, and other parcel delivery, is even worse. Maybe that's the job of the city. They're starting to do it now in connection with the homeowners. Once again, I'd like to read this as part of the criteria of MRA making investments to businessmen and developers in the city.
So now you're at 3.5 minutes.
You're being kind to me this time.
Yes, I am.
The statements are examined to assess the need for TIF assistance. You don't give TIF assistance unless they need it to do the project. I suggest to you that the crossings, whatever the name of the crossings, the shopping centers, all kinds of apartments, buildings for the students, I don't think they need it. I'll lend them some money if they need it, and therefore the city won't have to give it to them. Okay, thank you.
Any other general public comment this evening? All right, seeing none, we will move on to our consent agenda. Items on that agenda were approved unanimously in City Council standing committees, and we save a little time on Monday evenings by considering these items all at once. Ms. Rabine will read the list of consent agenda items aloud so those in the audience and those watching at home will know what we're considering, and we'll invite comment on these items before we vote. Ms. Rabine.
Thanks. Consent agenda, sorry, the consent agenda tonight has 8 items. As always, the first item is to approve claims, which are the city's accounts payable in the amount of $294,037.94 for checks that are dated March 7th, 2017. Number 2 is to approve the purchase of one 2017 Mobark 1200 XL WCL tub grinder to Normon Equipment of Black Eagle, Montana for the purchase price of $618,015. And that is for the wastewater treatment plant. Normon Equipment was the lowest responsible bidder on that particular piece of equipment. Number 3 is to award and authorize the mayor to execute the software license, support and maintenance, and software implementation contracts with Harris Advanced Utility Systems for the implementation of utility billing software to use by the forthcoming Missoula Municipal Water Utility Division of Public Works, an amount not to exceed $1,372,500. Number 4 is to direct finance staff to draft a resolution identifying all City of Missoula accounts with Wells Fargo Investment and Wells Fargo Securities in order to divest those interests and place them with other financial institutions in accordance with the City of Missoula's investment policy. Number 5 is to appoint Solomon Martin to the Historic Preservation Committee as alternate 1 for a term that begins immediately. I think, is he supposed to be alternate 2? And somebody tell me, I think we already have somebody in alternate 1. Emily, do you know? He's alternate 1? Okay. As alternate 1 for a term that begins immediately and ends on December 31st of 2019. Number 6 is to appoint John Smith to the Open Space Advisory Committee for the term commencing March 1st, 2017, and ending on January 25th, 2019. Number 7 is to approve the purchase of one 2017 Ford F-150 Super Cab pickup to Bison Motor Company of Great Falls, Montana, for a purchase price of $27,138.28. And finally, number 8 is to change the public hearing date from March 6th to March 2017 to March 13th, 2017 on a resolution that amends annual appropriations for development services as set forth in the fiscal year 2017 City of Missoula Budget and Capital Improvement Program that increases the total city budget by $31,950 and appropriate building and general funds in the amount of $31,950 in order to pay for the yearly building and subscription maintenance. Was not included in the 2017 budget, although it was previously approved by City Council. Last week, the council set the public hearing for tonight, but that doesn't allow enough statutory notice to comply with the law about amending the budget, so we need to move that hearing to the 13th instead. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Rabine. Are there questions or comments on any of the items on the consent agenda this evening? Seeing none, anyone in the audience care to comment on the consent agenda? And so you'll step to the microphone, please, and identify yourself. And I recognize that folks are pretty interested in this topic. What's before the body, however, is the work just to get the resolution drafted. When that resolution comes back, it's the time for the best, biggest speeches. But if you'd want to support this or not support it, you certainly have that opportunity this evening. Sir.
So your words there, I got a little confused about, you said to support or different things at different times.
Okay, so if you'd identify yourself for the record, sir.
My name's Ken Cook at 615 Cooley.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Cook. You're welcome to speak to whether you want to talk about the Wells Fargo thing, I'm guessing.
I was going to make a comment on that.
Yep.
Thank you. I want to thank the City Council and everyone who brought their time here and urge the citizen representatives to divest our city from Wells Fargo. It sounds like you're already feeling pretty good about that. But I also like to urge the city to consider divesting from all the banks and financial institutions as far as the Dakota Access Pipeline, Energy Transfer Partners, Energy Transfer Equities, and Sunoco Logistics. With the whole system over there and that pipeline in the Dakota and XL coming our way. We're going to have to look at the banks and the XL pipeline as well. I mean, these, basically, the way I see it, it's imperative that as a community, we're going to stand on the side of equality and justice and on the side of the indigenous people and the water protectors, and that we make every effort as a city and a progressive community to invest in ethical, socially responsible banking practices now and continue this on from here on out. Banking's a little messy, money's a little messy, and when you do it, you got to do it right, and you want to do it in the right direction. And you really got to, we got to take responsibility for where we're putting our money. I mean, if you look at the recent debacle, human rights violations, militarized violence, violent intimidation has been taking place over in North Dakota by the state of North Dakota, Morton County, the National Guard of Dakota, other federal agencies, DAPL mercenaries, and private security. It illustrates, a larger picture in our culture and the essential need of our community to unite in divesting from banks and corporations who are the financial backers and financial accomplices to these unethical abuses, human rights violations, strategically directing them, at the indigenous, non-indigenous peoples, against indigenous sovereignty, human rights, perpetuated by historical apathetic business paradigm. In the colonial history of cultural abuse, racism, very real historical traumatic genocide against the First Nations peoples and cultures of this land here we're at. We must acknowledge the history of this nation, and we must acknowledge our present moment in the history. And this history is going to continue and is continuing, and it's our choice where to direct our present course in our finances, and what will the newspapers are going to say, and the websites are going to say, and the history books are going to say when they look back and it was our time to choose. Where do we stand? What responsibilities do we take with our monies as a community and as a city? Are we standing with the children? Are we standing in truth and justice? Are we taking responsibility for what's within our control? Are we being the change we want to see in the world? Our city, our community needs to stand for what is right and what is ethically acceptable, and we've got to do it now. At least start the first step, wake up, take the first steps, get out of bed. In our community, we really must, if we have to lead the way, we do it. And it's imperative that we truly stand with the indigenous peoples and the cultures and the nations and the water protectors. And that as a city and as a community, we make the right choice for our children's futures. I mean, really.
And we're at about 3 minutes.
The choice to reinvest in a good way. This Wells Fargo is a good start. Reinvest in an ethical way, reinvest in a responsible way. Thanks for your time. Urge you again, divest with this Wells Fargo and look a little further in some of these other banks and institutions. And I also like the city's support. We're going to do some actions this week in support of the D.C. March, Native Nations and Standing Rock in D.C. So thank you all for your time.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Paula Goldberg, 165 Burlington. I never do this, but it was worth it to me to come up and express my opinion as well, that I would be proud to be a member of a community that would choose to divest from Wells Fargo as a statement against the DAPL actions. And I contemplated doing it myself, but the funds that I have would go highly unnoticed compared to what I assume is in the millions, hopefully, that the city could use as a representation, again, of probably the majority of the community here in Missoula. And as a statement that would hopefully be seen by outside of Missoula. That's also kind of why I chose to step out of my comfort zone and come up here and say something, so that the community could see that there are people that support this, and then hopefully through your actions in making that decision to divest from Wells Fargo would send a message to beyond Missoula and hopefully inspire other communities to do the same thing.
Thank you, Ms. Goldberg. Anyone else this evening? Ms. Matthew Jenkins?
Candy Matthew Jenkins. About the Wells Fargo thing, and excuse me for shaking, I have neck injuries. Okay. The Wells Fargo thing. You know, I don't see how we should be divesting from Wells Fargo for something in another state that's going on and being handled in that state, and we're dealing with an international banking fund, not even an American bank. I don't like banks myself because I've been dealing with banks for nigh on to 7 years now. But to divest in some kind of support, I don't understand. I don't understand it. And it took $1 million to clean that access pipeline land up with the garbage that was left and the devastation and animals and cars that was left there. And I feel if the Indian peoples want to be heard, then they shouldn't be creating such a mess that the state of North Dakota had to expend $1 million, and we're supporting an international banking firm with our water.
Anyone else? Yes, sir. Please step right up.
Good evening. My name is Joseph Grady, 115 Washington Street. I appreciate the words that I've heard this evening and have great respect for our citizens willing to come up here and voice their free speech. I'd like that to be known first. Secondly, I appreciate this council's willingness to move forward and consider divesting in Wells Fargo. It is a step in the right direction. It is but a small step. To follow up, what has happened in North Dakota to my brothers and sisters, to my family members, and people that I know personally is not something that the state of Montana or the city of Missoula, for that matter, can sit back idly and act as if we have no say. I commend anyone on this council for your bravery in taking the action to divest. It means much to our indigenous communities in this state because as an entity, water, the headwaters of the United States begin here in Montana. And so what we see happening in North Dakota is something that we do not want to see happen here in Montana. That is why it matters. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grady. Nope, one time around, Paula, sorry.
Hello, my name's Matthew Bell, 322 David Court. I just want to stand up here and say thank you. I appreciate the movement of this council to divest from Wells Fargo, not only for the issue happening in North Dakota, but I believe as well that the accounting practices of Wells Fargo in that they've been fraudulent in the recent past. I believe it's in our best interests as a community to move forward with socially conscious banking practices, and I think this would be a great step forward. I've been a Missoulian for going on 10 years now, and I would hope to be here much longer than that, and I would very much, again, support moving forward with this resolution to divest. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bell. Mr. Moore?
Thank you, Bob Moore. I didn't know this was coming up on the Wells Fargo, and what I saw on TV, what they did, makes me sick to my stomach. So I completely agree with doing that. However, you need to look at other banks also. In one of the bonds you issued for part, or I think it was the highway or the street through the shopping center, was issued at over 4%. The rates at that time were less than 3%. I think I may have mentioned this before. Part of that MRA approval was to have the shopping center obtain the financing for the loan. Why that is given to that party is unimaginable. Unimaginable, unbelievable that the city would have the purchaser determine the terms of a loan. So we're going to pay.
We're getting a little far afield from this resolution.
Well,
Yeah.
it's still involved in the banks. Still involved in the bank. First Security, this was the bank, was going to loan the money at a much higher rate than Missoula should have ever been paying. A little bit in there, but it's still the same. They were the one charging the interest rate of something over 4, if memory serves me right, and when the rates were a lot under 3. You should have not have done that. One other subject on the $1,372,000, I assume that's for the upcoming Mountain Water, is it? Forthcoming Municipal Water Utility Division.
Correct.
I don't see anything in here about where you compared it to other software companies. Number one. Number two, why you have to feel like you got to commit to buying it now before you're even actually in the operation is jumping the gun and should not be purchased at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. I'll make this quick. My name's Kathleen Todd, 500 East Kent Avenue. I just wanted to say real quick that I appreciate you guys would put it on your agenda items to talk about divesting from Wells Fargo tonight, and I appreciate you welcoming open comment and just being here. So from my perspective, I do think that there are banks that have sounder practices. Wells Fargo is kind of getting a bit of a reputation. Like another gentleman said, not only are they invested in the Dakota Access Pipeline, but they have been kind of put in the hot seat lately because of their accounting practices. So I think it would be wise to look at other banks, and if I could recommend, I would say Missoula Federal Credit Union would be a really good way to go. You know, they're local, and the credit union, in my opinion, I think is a little bit more sound. So if we wanted to invest in our community rather than in a large bank who has, in my opinion, questionable investments, you know, whether pipelines may be safer than traveling by freight train, but it still has caused such an outroar and such an, you know, a cry from the people that I think it's definitely worth looking into. So I appreciate you guys reconsidering your investments as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Todd. Anyone else this evening on the consent agenda? Yes, sir.
Michael Pecora, small business owner, Army veteran, Ward 6. I just wanted, the reason I'm here today is to thank you guys. I think that it's as important to show support as it is to show something that you don't agree with. I wanted to thank you for considering the divestment of the Wells Fargo, their history of predatory lending practices, fabrication of personal bank accounts, and the funding of the Dakota Access Pipeline. I think that it's a worthwhile endeavor to divest not only in Wells Fargo, but any other bank that supports these practices. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Corder. Yes, ma'am.
Lily Elison, 6630 Siesta Drive. I'm a fourth generation Montanan, and I've lived in Montana and Missoula my whole life. And it's my home, and I love it here. And I'm so empowered that my city is working towards a socially responsible investment. It's progressive for Missoula to divest from corporations which support irresponsible and unsustainable investments. It's the perfect first step in creating a resilient Missoula, and something that we can all be proud of and feel good about. I mean, our ice caps are melting. Indigenous people are being ignored, citizens' rights are being trampled on, and we need to remember that water is life, and that keeping this environment safe and secure is, and friendly to all peoples, is our job. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone else this evening? Yes, ma'am.
Hello, Stephanie Swigert, 322 David Court. I was also just going to come up and say thank you very much for considering divesting in the Wells Fargo. I think that would be a good step for Missoula, and I fully support that measure.
Thank you, ma'am.
Hi, my name's Feather Sherman, and I would like to encourage the City Council to divest from Wells Fargo, and I'd like to look at our history as a city, how we have done things to help protect the health of the Montanans here. Back in the 70s, City Council passed a resolution to make Missoula nuclear-free. Some of you may know Monty Dolek's beautiful poster that he did of that. So we have a history of protecting our people, and also asking that the huge big equipment and the giant pipes that were coming through for the pipeline, that they not go through our city and through our streets too and our highways. So that has also happened. And right now the city is in the process of regaining the water, to getting our water back again from the Carlisle Group. That's fantastic. So we're caring about our health, and I think we need to care about the health of all the people. And the city of Seattle has already divested. They're the first major city who has divested for that purpose, to support the Native Americans, to support clean water, to support alternative energy. These are the directions that we need to go. And I myself have been out at Standing Rock since September. And I would also like to make a point about the cleanup there. We have done everything we can to do a good job on that. And we have been stopped from bringing trucks in. We can bring trucks in to get materials, and they weren't allowed to bring them out. It was a very, very complex thing. And a lot of this has been using really negative propaganda against the people. So you can't always believe everything you read in the newspapers. So I would just really encourage Missoula, to step up also, because this is an important issue. It's water for the whole planet and for the future and the children. And I very much support that. And we could show our support too. These pipelines right now could easily pollute 20% of the world's water systems. And we've had our problems with the Milltown Dam and with other issues, and I think we need to stick together with everybody. So I really encourage you to divest, really consider it thoroughly, and Yahoo!
Thank you, Ms. Sherman. Anyone else this evening?
Hello, Will Adams, 817 Monroe. I would like to thank you for holding this on the issue of divesting, and I would like to support the resolution and also go beyond it and look into all banks and industry that the city is invested in, which propagates the mining, development, and production of fossil fuels. And every week you hear about a new leak across the country, across the world. Every week you hear about a new injustice done to either indigenous communities they're in Nigeria, in the Amazon, Dapple, and these aren't, these are US-based companies. And the time is now to divest, and I look forward to the future meeting. And I would also throw in that if we really want to divest and be the change we want to see, I think all new building projects should incorporate a solar roof because it's ready and it looks incredible. So if you want to look into that for future building projects. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Adams. Anyone else this evening? Sir?
Right to say my name and where I'm from? Yeah, is that right? So, name's Antonio Morcid. I'm from Earth. Actually, I come from Rocky Boy, Montana. I've been living here for the past 5 years, and I am a Chippewa Cree. I love this planet. I love all of my people, and all my people don't just mean the humans. It means the four-legged. It means the crawlers. It means the swimmers. It means the flyers. All those are my people. And what Wells Fargo has done, investing in something that is terrible for all my people, is not a good thing. And I am really happy that all of you are taking this opportunity to divest in something that is far better for our future generations and is far better for the planet as a whole. Wells Fargo is, they're in it for their own profits. They're not in it for everybody else. And I just want to thank you guys. Hi.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else this evening? All right. With that, we will have a roll call vote.
Okay, on the consent agenda, Armstrong. Armstrong votes yes. Bentley. Bentley votes yes. Cares. Cares votes yes. Hedall. Hedall votes yes. Jones. Jones votes yes. Marlar. Marlar votes yes. Sweeney. Sweeney votes yes. West. West votes yes. And Wilkins. Wilkins votes yes. It's 9 ayes and 3 absent.
Point of order.
We're missing someone because we've got 10 people here.
We've got 10 people here. Oh,
I'm guessing with Mr.
Did I
Hess.
miss Hess? Sorry. You know what happened is I marked you out instead of John DeBari, so I got my J names next to one another. All right, so we have 10 ayes and 2 absent.
And the consent agenda is approved. We'll move on to comments from city staff, agencies, boards, commissions, authorities, and the community forum. And we do have a forum report this evening. Mr. Chrisman.
All right, thank you. My name is Dave Chrisman. I live at 435 East Beckwith and represent the University District Neighborhood Council on the Community Forum. I chaired the last Community Forum meeting, and I'm here to report on that. We met on Thursday, February 23rd, and there were 14 neighborhood councils represented. We had 3 presentations. The Neighborhood Tree Master Plan, that was presented by Chris Boza, Missoula's forester. We learned about what the plan was and how each neighborhood is being asked to participate in developing its own piece of that plan. That includes picking the trees that would be most appropriate for their neighborhood. And 6 neighborhoods have already finished their plans. So there's about 2/3 left to be done. Good opportunities for folks in the neighborhoods to get involved and to support our urban forest and to support their neighborhoods to make sure that they have the choices that they want. We also heard from, and if anyone wants to get involved, they should contact the Office of Neighborhoods. We learned from Chase Jones, the City of Missoula's Energy Conservation Coordinator, about the zero waste plan that the city is starting out on here, 0 to 50, Missoula's pathway to zero waste. And Chase laid out the timeline a bit, some of the goals, and let us know that there's community listening sessions coming up. They began on March the 2nd, but there are other ones scheduled on the 7th and the 8th. And that information is available on the City of Missoula's website if you just search on Zero Waste. The meetings are a great opportunity for the community to learn more about the program to reduce Missoula's waste stream by 90% by 2050. And everyone's encouraged to attend and put in their 2 cents worth, but there's also an online survey we found out. And again, you can go to 0 by 50 on the city website to participate. Excuse me. The National Wildlife Federation Community Wildlife Habitat Certification is a program that's now in its 3rd year. And Brittany Weber, who's the Habitat Sustainability Coordinator, spoke about how that's going. Apparently very well. Brittany seemed to be a real ball of fire, and she said that she predicted that we would have the citywide designation by the end of this year. Right now, they're planning a class to train folks to be on the team that will keep the program going after this initial stage. So if anyone is interested in becoming a lot more of an expert gardener and learning a lot more about habitat and keeping this great project going, they should contact Brittany or the Office of Neighborhoods again. We have a number of other things happened. We elected a new member of our leadership team for the Community Forum, and we heard from John Wilkins and from Jane Kelly about the ward relocation boundary project. And we also had our committee, which looked into the Outstanding Neighborhood Volunteer Program. They came to the council, to the forum with a name, and I'm not allowed to tell you who that is, but come your next meeting, I believe on the 20th, that you guys will hear about that person and you'll have your chance to weigh in on that process. I think you'll be very interested and excited by this one. I think everybody will know who that person is and what work they've contributed to Missoula. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your support of the Community Forum.
Thank you, Mr. Christman. You know, we're all about transparency. We'd like to know the name.
I seem to have forgotten.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Dave. We appreciate it. Excuse me. We will move on to special presentations. We have but one this evening in the form of a proclamation. Ladies and gentlemen, whereas the Meals on Wheels program at Missoula Aging Services is a valuable resource to older adults in Missoula County, and whereas more than 800 homebound elders and adults with disabilities received Meals on Wheels in the past year, with more than 1,300 meals served in Missoula County, and whereas volunteer drivers for Meals on Wheels are the backbone of this program through their dedication to bring not only hot, nutritious meals to clients, but also caring concern and attention to their welfare, and whereas Missoula Aging Services counts on these volunteers and the support of the community to serve the growing number of elders who need this service in order to remain in their homes, and whereas we wish to raise awareness and support for Meals on Wheels in Missoula and surrounding areas, now therefore we, the Missoula Board of County Commissioners and the Mayor of the City of Missoula, do hereby proclaim the month of March 2017 as March for Meals Month in Missoula, Montana, and invite citizens to thank the caring volunteer drivers, recognize the value of this service to homebound elders and adults with disabilities, and encourage citizens to volunteer as Meals on Wheels drivers so elders may remain in their homes, signed by the Board of County Commissioners and myself. We'll be rolling once again this March with drivers who are, I've done this for years now. They are terrific. They are dedicated. They love the people they serve, and the people they serve love them. It's a wonderful service, and thank you very much for being here this evening. Did you want to say anything tonight? Oh, we're bunching up at the front of the. Come on up, Debbie. We'll take all comers.
I just wanted to express appreciation, and certainly Debbie's here as well. I'm Catherine Hungerford with Missoula Aging Services. Appreciate the opportunity just to raise awareness of senior hunger and isolation.
Well, just to add to what Catherine said, 20 years ago, we heard from the hospitals that the seniors that were being admitted were being treated for malnutrition before they were ever treated for what ailed them. And we don't hear that anymore. And part of the reason for that is this partnership that we have with the city and the essential services that we deliver together to keep our seniors healthier. And I just want to thank the mayor and thank the city council members. Please drive along with us. It's a wonderful experience, and we just want to say thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Lester. Ms. Hungerford, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Would you like to take this with you? Suitable for framing. We'll see you soon. And with that, we will move on through our agenda. I will pass on communications from the mayor this evening. We'll begin general comments from council members with Ms. Hedall and Ms. Jones.
Thank you. It's the end of the winter high school sports season, so I wanted to give some congratulations. In basketball, both Sentinel boys and girls teams will be going to Great Falls to play at state, and the Hellgate High School boys basketball team will be going also, so congratulations to those teams. And in the Missoula youth hockey scene, the U19 girls, which is basically their varsity hockey team for girls, took state this year, as well as the boys team, the equivalent, they call that the varsity team, also took state for all of Montana. So wanted to say congratulations. That's a great accomplishment for Missoula.
Mr. Hess, Ms. Sweeney.
I wanted to acknowledge Ronalda Sosi. She's a graduate student at the University of Montana, and she represented us at the Emerging Researchers National Conference and placed first in the graduate oral presentations. I also wanted to say get well to our fellow council member and Mr. Von Lossberg, and then also happy belated birthday to council member John Wilkins. That's all. Thank you.
Mr. Wilkins.
Thank you. I want to say thank you to all the people that came and talked about Wells Fargo and other things like that. It always astounds me that the people of Missoula really look out for each other and look out for things that are happening in our country, and that's what makes this a very special place, and I'm sure glad I live here.
Ms. Marler.
Happy birthday, John Wilkins, and I hope everybody can stay and have a piece of cake after the meeting.
Ms. Bentley. And Ms. Armstrong.
So we will be celebrating our seniors this Thursday with the March for Meals. A lot of city officials will be riding along, and if they are doing a fundraising campaign right now where you can actually donate on your phone. So if you want to look at their Facebook page, they would love for everybody to participate.
Ms. West.
Hi. So I just want to say how excited I am to be going to talk about zero waste tomorrow with my kids at the second listening session for 0 by 50. It's from 6 to 8 at the Burn Street Center. And then if you can't make it to that one, there's a third and last chance on Wednesday night at the public library. So I hope to see everyone there.
Ms. Karras. With that, we will move on to committee reports. Items listed here were not approved unanimously in council standing committees. We, pardon me, and the chairperson of each of those committees will make a motion reflecting that committee's action. We'll invite comment on each of those items. We have only one of those this evening, and it's happening in Public Works. Mr. Hess.
Thank you. I move the council adopt a resolution of intention to close and vacate public rights of way being portions of North Avenue and Holborn Street located in the Union Edition Blocks 40 and 41 and Homeville Edition Block 17, Exhibit A, subject to 2 conditions of approval, and to set a public hearing on March 27, 2017.
That motion is in order. Is there discussion on the motion? Ms. West?
I am not going to support the motion to give away the right-of-way. I think that it is important, especially along the Brook Street corridor, to maintain our right-of-way for future potential infrastructure and connectivity. I think that giving up this right-of-way results in a huge block that currently doesn't have good flow through it as far as pedestrians or bikes are concerned. And I also understand that there isn't any along Brook Street, which we would gain some of, but it's frankly not enough, I think, to give away this little bit of right-of-way and hopefully affect the future better if we hold on to it into the future.
Ms. Marler?
I'm going to vote in favor of having the public hearing. Just for people who might be interested, this has to do with the trying to get a sidewalk built along the old Pet Nebula and where Tori's Home Cooking used to be. Might be dating myself with that one. But I know that this has been a negotiation between the MRA and the new property owner to try to get some sidewalks there, and it's badly needed. But we had a good discussion, I think a thought-provoking discussion on Wednesday about whether in this negotiation, if we're giving up like way more public right-of-way than we were getting in exchange. And I hope that we can continue to talk about it because it's important, and that site is important. It's a huge mega block of Trempers, and I didn't even know that we had as much public right-of-way there as we do, so I hope we can keep talking about it.
And just for the record, this Holiday Village, not Trempers.
Not Trempers at all, thank you. No, Trempers has nice sidewalks.
Mr. Wilkins?
So I, of course, in favor of setting a public meeting. I also want council to think about that. We were told that it'll probably be 30 years before we'd ever get another chance to do anything there. I'm not willing to wait 30 years to get a sidewalk along there. And so anyway, we'll discuss that at the public meeting. I'm in favor of the meeting.
Mr. Hess?
Thanks. I was just going to say that I think setting a hearing is important. There are ongoing negotiations with regard to how this project will look on the ground, and I think that we need to continue toward setting the public hearing in order to fully weigh those issues. And I think one thing, as Mr. Wilkins just mentioned, achieving a sidewalk through this area is an issue that compels me to move forward with the hearing.
Ms. Karras?
I'll also vote in opposition. As we discussed on Wednesday, the right-of-way is our only bargaining chip, and if we vacate it, we will lose an opportunity not only to maybe build that right-of-way out someday, but also to get the sidewalk that we really need on that portion of Brook Street. I understand that we have been needing that portion of Brook Street to be filled out for quite some time, but that doesn't mean that we should take less than what is really needed in that site. Thank you.
Ms. Jones?
I'm in support of setting a public hearing tonight. This is in Ward 3, and I have followed the Midtown Corridor plan as it has been created and passed, and I think this is good to have a public hearing on this. I agree with Jordan. There are some further negotiations that can hopefully take place before this comes to a public hearing to fine-tune this a little bit and accomplish some of the goals that we have in our Midtown corridor. And I am very aware of the reality that these are new owners. They have invested in this mega block. It's not going to change for a good 25 to 30 years. So I think we need to create what infrastructure we can in those areas. I don't think there's ever going to be a scenario where this mega block is split at any point, but there's plenty of streets around it, so I'm fine with that, and we need to just pursue making this as constructive as possible. And then in the long run, looking at how we can truly affect our growth policy and our Midtown corridor policy. But for now, let's get the public hearing set.
Further discussion, Mr. Wilkins?
So Ellen, I don't know if there's a chance or a possibility to try to do another negotiation with them before our public meeting, but maybe dangle a carrot or something. I don't know. You're the one that knows about that kind of stuff.
Ms. Buchanan?
Ellen Buchanan, MRA. I don't know that there's, I mean, I don't know what you want to negotiate for. If you want to negotiate for a wider easement, more than the 9 feet, that's going to mean taking down yet another building. And I'm not sure that there's a there. I think that's a non-starter, but I can certainly try to have the conversation with Mr. Rosen. I don't feel particularly good about what I think his reaction will be or where we'll end up in that. I do not believe he will be willing to take down a second building. He's voluntarily taking down one in order to be able to grant us the 9-foot easement.
Oh. That's all I'm asking, you know,
Yeah.
try again. The council needs to realize that if we don't get that, it's going to be 30 years before we ever even be able to negotiate anything else. And I'll be dead by then, I'm sure, so.
Me too.
Yeah. I'd like to see it
Just
happen
a hope.
now.
Yeah.
Further discussion? All right, seeing none, anyone in the audience care to comment on the motion to set a public hearing on the question?
On the motion to adopt the resolution of intent and set the public hearing, Bentley. Bentley vote, sir. Bentley votes yes. Cares. Cares votes no. Hedall. Hedall votes yes. Hess. Hess votes yes. Jones. Jones votes yes. Marlar. Marlar votes yes. Sweeney. Sweeney votes yes. West. West votes no. Wilkins. Wilkins votes yes. Armstrong. Armstrong votes yes. Bentley. I'm sorry, Bentley already voted. It's a good thing that's my last roll call vote. I'm not doing very good tonight. It is 8 ayes, 2 nays, and 2 absent. Thanks.
Pardon me, and the motion's approved. We don't have any more committee reports this evening. We have one item of new business. That's the legislative update. You all have received that. Tomorrow, I will also send all of you the mid-session report from the Montana League of Cities and Towns. They did a nice job. Anything on your list this evening that we ought to be paying attention to? Ms. Karras?
This isn't actually in relation to what you just said, but I don't see a new update. I assume because that was last week was transmittal break, but I'm just confirming there was not a new update to be seen.
You know, I actually don't know. Oh, it's the same date as last time? Different report, same date is the issue. Apparently.
Okay, I'll look closer. Thank you.
Mr. Wilkins?
So Jim, you mentioned earlier today when I saw you, there was a bill going through about giving the cities more rights to make decisions. Did you figure out what that was all about?
I haven't had a moment to go back and look. John's interested in the one about setting speed limits, and there is a piece of legislation that's proposed that I need to go back and read and see exactly what it's saying now, if it's been amended, about local governments and the setting of speed limits.
All right, thanks.
Anything else on the legislature? All right, with that, do we have any additional items to be referred? Seeing none, any miscellaneous communications, reports, petitions, or announcements? Seeing none of those, as always, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for your service. We are adjourned.